Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Arundhati Ramnan and these are the top headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Sensex and Nifty end at a record close even after clocking marginal gains in a tepid session. Mid-caps decline, PSU stocks come under pressure.
I understand there are people, middle class, who feel that the rate reduction which is happening for the new scheme should also be available for the old.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman rules out tax rate reductions under the old scheme. Old income tax regime, says 70% of taxpayers have switched to the new regime, but maintains that government is not compelling anyone to switch to the new regime. That's an exclusive. Income Tax Department sends a slew of notices over unexplained expenditure to some real estate, insurance, metal, cement and power companies. Seeks details on the source of funds according to sources. That's an exclusive. Arvind Kejriwal chooses Senior Minister Atishi as his successor days after announcing his decision to resign as Delhi Chief Minister. All up, legislators unanimously accept her candidature. Supreme Court slams the brakes on bulldozer demolitions, rules properties of accused suspected of crimes cannot be demolished without its permission till the 1st of October when it hears the case again. Order will not apply for unauthorized constructions on public spaces. Supreme Court rejects West Bengal government's plea to stop the live streaming of proceedings in the RG Kar hospital rape and murder case. Also directs Wikipedia to take down the name and photo of the victim from its website. Home Minister Amit Shah unveils a report card for the first 100 days of the Modi's government's third term. Says one nation, one election scheme will be implemented during the present government's tenure. Also does not rule out the possibility of a caste census. Says the decision would be made public when the census, which has been pending since 2021, is announced. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu expands the goals of the war in Gaza, includes enabling Israelis who fled from towns bordering Lebanon to return to their homes. More than 41,200 Palestinians have been killed so far as we approach the one-year anniversary of the war. Rural demand is recovering, but double-digit growth is some time away, says Tata consumer Sunil D'Souza. Expects to grow its base by 10%, with acquisitions adding another 5 to 6%. Bajaj Auto launches two new 400cc Triumph motorcycles, betting on the festive season. The new models will be available later this month at a starting price of 2.17 lakh rupees. Those were the headlines that we're tracking for you, but let's start with the market action of the day. Sensex and Nifty ended at a record closing high, even after clocking marginal gains in a tepid session. Mid-caps underperformed in trade. Investors around the world have their eyes fixed on the US Federal Reserve's two-day meeting, which starts today. Many are expecting a 50 basis point rate cut from the Fed. Prashant Nair is here with the day's market action. Prashant, flat day?
Once again, a quiet day for markets, with the Nifty drifting higher, slightly so. The Nifty Bank also ending about just under 0.25% in the green. Mid caps and small caps largely flattish. Market breadth actually was a little negative. It got better, but there were more stocks which were down rather than what was up. Single stock action dominated like yesterday, but it was quieter day on day. Well, let me start with what was up on the Nifty. Actually, there were no noticeable losers, but gains as well were limited. So autos did well. Hero, Bajaj and Mahindra were the top three gainers on the Nifty. And you also had Bharti and NTPC, which participated as far as large caps are concerned. In the broader market, lots of action. So Bajaj Housing, and it continues to move higher. Super listing, another 10% today. Ola Electric, there were some brokerage calls, was up 10%. Blue Dart, a big candle up 10% higher. Ecos Mobility, again a fairly recent listing, a fortnight old, went up. Century Ply was up sharply. Zaggle continues to perform. I think it's up 30% this month. Neogen Chemicals, Aarti Surfactants started higher, ended up 16%. Bector Foods, Avalon, ADF Foods and Sudarshan Chemicals were some of the other names which did quite well. Some pullbacks, and here volumes were on the lower side. Godfrey Phillips was down sharply. Cross, again a fairly recent listing, subdued one. And that was down about 5. Triveni Turbine, Tribhuvandas, just a pullback after sharp gains recently. And Tollens, which is a tyre maker, again a subdued listing, which fell today as well. So all in all, a quiet kind of a day. I guess markets are just biding time ahead of that big global event, which is only tomorrow evening, which we react to on Thursday morning, which is the Fed decision.
So quiet day on the last street. Thank you so much for those details, Prashant. Now, India's wholesale price index eased to a 4-month low of 1.31% in August. This fall was largely led by the reduction in prices of manufactured products and food prices. Food price inflation came in at 3.26%, which was slower compared to July, while prices of fuel and power also contracted in August. Jewelry giant P.N. Gadgil made a stellar debut on the bourses. The stock listed at a premium of 73% versus the issue price, ending the day 65% in the green. The issue was subscribed nearly 60 times on the 12th of September on the last day of bidding. Now, the company's 1,100 crore rupee public issue comprised a fresh issue of shares worth up to 850 crore rupees and an offer for sale component. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has ruled out tax rate reductions under the old income tax regime. Speaking exclusively to Network 18's Rahul Joshi, the Finance Minister said 70% of taxpayers have migrated to the new regime and added that the government is not forcing anyone to move to the new regime. The Finance Minister also spoke about the boom in quick commerce and said government needs to protect small traders. Take a look.
Since 2019, the attempt has been to simplify the direct taxation. The attempt has been to make sure that we make the whole process simpler, and that is why, after much of a discussion, a new regime was brought in, wherein right from the beginning the rates were kept low. And we gave the option to the assessees that if they want with exemption a regime, so that they think they've made long-term plans for, taking insurance cover or for the EMI, and therefore they need their exemptions, they could continue with the old scheme. The new scheme was without any exemptions. It was first without standard deduction, and later again, when we heard people's voices, we brought in the standard deduction as well. Now, during the vote on account, again, a lot of consultation, not widely as much as the whole, general budget time consultations happen. But July budget, we had again had a lot of discussions and brought the rates down for middle class. In fact, people with higher income brackets were pushed up towards the lower rates. Right. Not one rate was increased. Yes. And the standard deduction for the new regime was increased from 50 to 75,000. So if anything, keeping the middle class in mind, Honorable Prime Minister had in July budget said that the rates be brought down and more slightly higher income also get covered under the lesser rates. So keeping in mind the middle class is what we have done through the new regime, both in terms of increasing the standard deduction and in terms of bringing the rates down. Now, there are very many other things that we are doing for the middle class as well. Yes. Now, I understand there are people, middle class, who feel that the rate reduction which is happening for the new scheme should also be available for the old. Right. The enhancement in the standard deduction, which is offered for the new, should also apply to the old. The new regime was brought in consciously to simplify, reduce, and make it easy for complying. The income tax manual is like this. You have to search for everything, every provision. Yes. We wanted to simplify that. All the exemptions and the provisions which are given for it will have to be removed. And therefore, we brought the new regime. It is important to take care of the small traders, the retailers, not just because they are people with a lot of, membership and also sympathy for the BJP, not because of that. This country needs that kind of support for small and medium industries and for small traders in particular. The retailers need all the help. And where because of predatory pricing or deep pockets, their businesses are getting affected. We'll have to give a serious thought, and the Commerce and Industry Minister is fairly seized of this matter.
The Income Tax Department sends a slew of notices over unexplained expenditure to some real estate, insurance, metal, cement and power companies. Now, sources say companies have been told to furnish details on the source of funds. Timsi Jaipuria is here with more of those details. Timsi?
To plug revenue leakage and understanding that there is now exchange of information available between the Income Tax Department and the GST wing, the Income Tax Authority has taken cues from the recent investigations done by the GST authorities, based on which it has sent a slew of notices to the industry, especially to sectors such as real estate, insurance, metal, power, cement, etc. These notices are under Section 69C, seeking explanation of various expenditures that have been claimed by these assessees. According to the tax authorities, the allegations that they have raised through these notices is that these claims that they have taken on account of expenditures are unjustified or they are wrong claims. And thus, they are now seeking explanation based on which they will now send tax demand notices. If these explanations remain unjustified, then this would mean thousands of crores of tax dues coming from these sectors to the income tax authorities. Just to give a background, Section 69C is on unjustified expenditures being booked by an assessee. And if it continues to remain unjustified, then the tax authority has the right to levy as much as 60% taxes on these expenditures. So something that we'll have to wait and watch for and see how does the industry take these notices in their stride, whether they are able to give an explanation or not, or will it result into further litigation, as many of the assessees have already taken this step and taken the tax authorities' notices to various high courts, something that we'll have to wait and watch for.
Right, Timsi. Many thanks for those details. Now, cash-strapped airline SpiceJet has launched a qualified institutional placement to raise up to 3,000 crore rupees. The indicative issue price of the fundraise has been set at over 61 rupees per share, which is nearly a 21% discount to Monday's closing price on the BSE. Now, sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the QIP has been oversubscribed and the airline has seen interest from both domestic and foreign institutional investors. The company plans to utilize the money raised for fleet expansion, operational enhancements and strengthening its balance sheet. And speaking of fundraisers, Samvardhana Motherson has also launched a qualified institutional placement to raise up to 6,400 crore rupees. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the floor price has been fixed at a 2.6% discount to yesterday's closing price. As per sources, the QIP will result in 5% dilution of the total equity of the company and will include compulsorily convertible debentures issuances to the tune of 2,250 crore rupees. Shares of Tata Motors fell more than 2% in early trade after 0.4% of equity worth 1,758 crore rupees changed hands on the bourses. The transaction was done at an average price of 970 rupees per share. Trustdeed and TML Securities Trust have sold 1.14 crore shares on the stock exchanges today. These shares were sold for the purpose of distribution of fractional share entitlement. Axis Trustee will now proceed to distribute sale proceeds. On that note, it is time for us to head into a short break. But coming up next, Arvind Kejriwal chooses Senior Minister Atishi as his successor days after announcing his decision to resign as the Delhi Chief Minister. Details when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still with us on Business 360. Arvind Kejriwal has chosen Senior Minister Atishi as his successor days after announcing his decision to resign as the Delhi Chief Minister. All AAP legislators unanimously accepted her candidature at a meeting earlier in the day. The 43-year-old Atishi would be Delhi's youngest Chief Minister. She would also be the third woman to be elevated to the Delhi Chief Minister's office. The BJP has lashed out at her elevation, referring to her as a dummy. Congress too has remarked that AAP cannot run away from the promises it made. Speaking to the press earlier, Atishi said that her goal was to ensure Arvind Kejriwal returned as the Chief Minister.
जितना सुख आज मेरे मन में है, आज उससे बहुत ज़्यादा दुख भी मेरे मन में है। दुख इसलिए कि दिल्ली के लोकप्रिय मुख्यमंत्री, मेरे बड़े भाई अरविंद केजरीवाल जी आज इस्तीफा दे रहे हैं। दिल्ली के लोग, आम आदमी पार्टी के विधायक और मैं अगले कुछ महीनों तक, चुनाव तक मुख्यमंत्री होने के नाते अब एक ही उद्देश्य से काम करेंगे कि हमें अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को फिर से दिल्ली का मुख्यमंत्री बनाना है।
जहाँ तक आतिशी जी का नाम जो है रिकमेंड किया गया है, तो ये एक विधानसभा की प्रक्रिया है। एमएलएज ने उनको चुना है, उनका स्वागत है।
Atishi, the sole woman in Delhi's cabinet, has been chosen by the Aam Aadmi Party as the new chief minister succeeding Arvind Kejriwal. Her selection comes just months before the crucial Delhi Assembly elections, and it highlights her growing influence within the Aam Aadmi Party, particularly after the arrest of Arvind Kejriwal and his former deputy Manish Sisodia in the liquor policy case. During this period of crisis, Atishi emerged as the face of the Aam Aadmi Party, stepping up to lead AAP's charge, especially during the Lok Sabha elections which were held this year, when she became one of the most visible leaders in the media from the Aam Aadmi Party. Holding the most portfolios in the Delhi government, including key ministries like education, finance, PWD and power, Atishi has played a central role in shaping Aam Aadmi Party's governance. Her work in the education sector, particularly in upgrading infrastructure and also the introduction of initiatives like happiness curriculum and the entrepreneurship mindset curriculum, has elevated her status within the party. These programs in education have been crucial in transforming Delhi's government schools and are a major focus of the Aam Aadmi Party's governance model in New Delhi. Atishi's ability to lead during tough times, combined with her extensive experience across various high-profile portfolios, has made her the front runner for the chief minister's post. Her leadership during the crisis, as well as her strong administrative track record, seems to have paid off for her.
So that's the latest from New Delhi, but the Supreme Court has rejected the West Bengal government's plea to discontinue the live streaming of the RG Kar rape and murder case. The top court has observed that live streaming of the court proceedings is a matter of public importance, adding that the people must know what transpires in court. The court has also refrained from making comments on the ongoing probe. It said that it does not want to dislocate the investigation. The Supreme Court has also directed Wikipedia to take down the victim's name and photo from the website. And staying with action from the court, Supreme Court has slammed the brakes on bulldozer demolitions. The top court has ruled that properties of accused suspected of crimes cannot be demolished without its permission till the 1st of October, when it hears the case again. The order will not apply for unauthorized construction on public spaces. Electronics companies are anxious over the $500 billion manufacturing target set by the Prime Minister. The industry has called on the government to rein in investigative agencies and chart out a roadmap to achieve this goal by 2030. The industry believes 25% of Samsung and Apple products need to be manufactured in India to achieve the goal. Speaking to CNBC-TV18's Ashmit Kumar, Industry Association head Pankaj Mohindru said investigative agencies need to leave the industry alone, and they will raise the issue with the Finance Ministry and the Prime Minister's office. Take a look.
The Prime Minister, when he rolled out the 500 billion number as a target, I mean, it did take our breath away, because such a growth is unprecedented. It's never happened in history, from 115 to 500 billion. But now it doesn't look impossible, because the four ingredients for success of any professional or any industry or any nation, four things: passion, environment, competency, skills and capital. I think there is so much passion. This is palpable.
Just a follow-up question in terms of there being a sense of, I wouldn't call the term fear or apprehension, but perhaps a closer look at some of the actions by the state agencies. So whether we're talking about customs, whether it's ED, do we need perhaps a relook at that approach in terms of what that does in terms of the psychosis of the industry?
Absolutely. I think in GST there are major steps being taken. We saw with the tremendous help of a very good minister we have, Ashwini Vaishnav, and the FM, we were able to sort out some naughty issues on naughty KN on display assembly, that was sorted out. But there are issues where the motivation of the industry gets hit with overzealous enforcement agencies, and we need we need to create a virtual SEZ type of an environment, because this unprecedented growth can only happen with the highest level of motivation.
One final question, sir. You said that as far as the electronic space is concerned, it's a big boys industry globally when we look at. In terms of big boys, and how much percentage of that pie are we looking for? How much production do they need to move here for us to actually realize those ambitions?
You know, business industry is a big boys business. It's the mother hen which looks after tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 chicks, right? 70 to 75% of global trade is with the GVCs, starting with the lead firms. In electronics, it's very acute. It's 90 to 95%, which means that for any success, even if we have to build Indian champions, SMEs, etc., the big boys have to be there, which is the lead firms of the GVCs.
So like the Apple, Samsung.
Absolutely. Apple, Samsung, Dell, HP, all of them have to make India their home. That is the only single recipe of success.
The upcoming festive season is going to be the biggest season for Amazon India. That's the word coming from the e-commerce player's vice president, Saurabh Srivastava. In an exclusive conversation with Shilpa Rani Peta, Srivastava added that the company is seeing an upswing in its traffic trends during festive sales. The company has also ensured capacity for delivering 1 million products the same day of order for its prime customers.
Festive season is upon us. Started from Raksha Bandhan, Janmashtami, Ganesh Chaturthi, and now Onam, and now we are getting into the even higher gear. We believe this is going to be the biggest festive season for us. We are very confident of that, and we are getting ready on all the fronts. So we are getting our whole delivery and operations infrastructure ready so that we can serve the customer across 100% of the pin codes. That has always been our focus. And also get our selection, the broad selection that we have further expanded. To tell you, today we have about 1 million products that can be delivered to prime customers on the same day, and 4 million products that will come in one day.
What about the expansion of capacity, Saurabh, with respect to sellers or even with respect to warehousing capacity?
We have made changes on our seller fee so that they can offer attractive deals to our customers. So we have reduced our seller fee from 3% to 12% across different categories so that they are enabled to do so. On infrastructure side, from server capacity to physical fulfillment, so we have put about 43 million cubic feet of storage capacity across 15 states in our fulfillment center for our sellers so that they can store their inventory. We have sortation center in 19 states now, 2,000 delivery stations, and we have hired almost 1.1 lakh associate to do the fast and reliable delivery from Amazon across the country.
And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.